Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a concept that shapes our world. Something many of us take for granted. Democracy. But where did this powerful idea come from? Who were the brave thinkers and ordinary citizens who first imagined a world where the people held the power? Let's rewind the clock and travel back over 2,500 years to ancient Athens, the cradle of democracy. Picture this. It's the 6th century BCE. Athens isn't the glorious city we imagine. It's a place of turmoil, teetering on the brink of civil war. The gap between the super-rich aristocrats and the struggling poor is enormous. Many farmers were falling into debt slavery, losing their land and their freedom. Society was a powder keg, ready to explode. Something had to change, and fast. Enter a man named Solon. He was an aristocrat, but he was also a wise poet and statesman who saw the writing on the wall. In 594 BCE, Solon was given special authority to reform the state. His changes were radical for the time. He canceled all debts, freed those who had been enslaved for debt, and made it illegal to use a person's freedom as collateral for a loan. He also created new law courts with citizen juries and restructured the social classes based on wealth, not just birth, giving more people a chance to participate in government. Solon didn't create a full democracy, but he laid the essential groundwork. He planted the seeds. For a while, things were better. But old habits die hard. After Solon, Athens went through a period of tyranny. Don't let the word fool you. In ancient Greece, a tyrant was simply a ruler who seized power unconstitutionally, not necessarily a brutal one. One of these tyrants, Pisistratus, actually continued many of Solon's reforms and kept the peace. However, his sons, who inherited his power, were not as popular. Their rule ended in violence and instability, leaving the Athenians desperate for a new way forward. This is where our main hero enters the stage, Cleisthenes. Around 508 BCE, this visionary aristocrat introduced a set of reforms that would forever change the course of history. He is often called the father of Athenian democracy. Cleisthenes' genius was in how he reorganized the entire citizen body. He broke up the old power structures based on family clans and geography, which were dominated by the aristocrats. He created 10 new tribes. And here is the clever part. Each tribe was a mix of people from different parts of Attica, the city, the coast, and the countryside. This meant that old loyalties were broken, and people had to work together with citizens they'd never interacted with before. It forced them to think as Athenians first, rather than as members of a specific clan or region. This was the key to forging a unified civic identity. From these new tribes, a council of 500 was chosen by lot each year. That's right, by a random lottery. This was a core principle of Athenian democracy. They believed that any citizen was capable of holding public office. This council, known as the Bull, set the agenda for the main democratic body, the assembly, or the ecclesia. The assembly was the heart of Athenian democracy. This is where the real power lay. All male citizens over the age of 18 had the right to attend, speak, and vote. Imagine it. Thousands of citizens gathering on a hillside called the Nix, debating everything from laws and taxes to whether or not to go to war. It was direct democracy in its purest form. A fisherman could stand up and challenge the strategy of a general. A potter could propose a new law. It was a radical, revolutionary idea. Of course, we have to be honest about its limitations. The citizens who could participate were only a fraction of the total population. Women, slaves, and foreigners, who made up the vast majority of people living in Athens, were completely excluded. So, while it was a groundbreaking step forward, it was far from the inclusive democracy we strive for today. It was a democracy for some, not for all. Another fascinating feature was a process called ostracism. Once a year, citizens could vote to exile any politician for 10 years without any specific charge. They would write a name on a piece of broken pottery called an ostracon. If a person received enough votes, they were banished. This was a safety valve, a way for the people to remove someone they felt was becoming too powerful or a threat to the democracy, without having to resort to violence. This new system unleashed an incredible wave of creativity and confidence in Athens. The period that followed the reforms of Cleisthenes is known as the Golden Age of Athens. It's the time of the Parthenon, of great playwrights like Sophocles, and Euripides, and of philosophers like Socrates and Plato. Many historians argue that this explosion of culture was directly linked to the freedom and empowerment that democracy provided. When people feel they have a stake in their society, they are more invested in its success and its glory. However, Athenian democracy was not without its critics, even back then. Thinkers like Plato were deeply skeptical. He argued that the common people were too easily swayed by emotion and clever speakers, or demagogues, and would make disastrous decisions. He witnessed the assembly vote for the disastrous Sicilian expedition during the Peloponnesian War, and most famously sentenced his mentor Socrates to death. For Plato, democracy was a flawed system, just one step away from tyranny. He believed ruled by educated philosopher kings would be far better. And indeed, Athenian democracy was volatile. It could be brilliant and just, but it could also be fickle and cruel. The Peloponnesian War against Sparta put immense strain on the system. Eventually, defeat in the war, coupled with internal strife and the rise of powerful kingdoms, like Macedon under Philip II and his son Alexander the Great, brought the era of independent, democratic Athens to a close. So, what's the legacy? Why do we still talk about this ancient experiment? Because the core idea is born in Athens that power should reside with the people, that citizens should have a say in their own governance. That there should be equality before the law, and that open debate is the best way to make decisions. These ideas never died. They were rediscovered during the Renaissance, debated fiercely during the Enlightenment, and became the direct inspiration for the American and French revolutions. The founding fathers of the United States looked directly to Athens when they were designing their own republic, while they chose a representative system rather than a direct one. The Athenian spirit of liberty and citizen rule is woven into the fabric of modern democracies everywhere, from the random lottery of the bull to the passionate debates in the assembly. The story of Athenian democracy is a powerful reminder that government by the people is not a given. It's something that has to be imagined, fought for, built, and constantly protected. It's a messy, imperfect, and often challenging system, but it is founded on the radical and hopeful belief in the wisdom and worth of the ordinary citizen. What do you think? Was Athenian democracy a success or a failure? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a fascinating debate that continues to this day. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.